Hi, I'm Amy Parsons, president of Colorado State University and host of the Next 150 podcast. We have so many remarkable people in our community, and this is where we're going to hear their stories. We're going to get their perspectives on CSU's next 150 years and gather their very best advice for today's CSU students. Let's get started, Rams. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Next 150. We are here today at one of the coolest spots in all of Denver, Spangalang Brewery in Five Points. And I'm here with CSU alum, second generation Ram, Norman Harris, who's the co-owner of Spangalang, a community organizer, entrepreneur, innovator. We're so proud of him as a Ram. Super excited to be talking with him today in his place at Spangalang. Thank you, Norman, for having us here at your place today.
Welcome to Spangalang. And
thanks.
Thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Yeah, so excited to be here today. I just admire you so much and what you do as an entrepreneur and community organizer. And this place is just amazing. So let's start here. The name, Spangalang, tell us about that. And then what happens here?
Well, outside of it being like a really huge conversation piece, like Spangalang, it's actually a jazz term. It's a drum cadence. So when a drummer is hitting the cymbal and it goes is actually what a Spangalang is.
That's a
but
Spangalang.
I think it really just pays homage to the jazz roots of 5 Points and our culture here. We've really worked hard to just merge not only music, but good food, good beer all in one place where folks can come together.
Yeah, and you're the co-owner of this establishment. How long has it been open?
So the brewery has been open since 2015. Our family purchased the brewery in 2022, and really just kind of embarked on a transformation to move it from just being a place for just only beer to what I think is just more of a community hub that brings people together.
It's awesome. We'll talk about the beer in a minute because I know you've worked with CSU on some beer projects as well, which is so great. But we're here really in the heart of 5 Points. It's been known as the Harlem of the West. I think you're a fifth generation from 5 Points. So talk to us about what it's like to be here in the middle of 5 Points and why that's important to you.
Well, I mean, I'd say 5 Points is the Harlem of the West, and it is becoming what we think as a melting pot, one of the city's only melting pots, where so many folks are welcome from different backgrounds and ethnicities. And I think what really makes it unique is its architecture, the kind of mom and pop feel of stores that are one of one along this corridor, and it's just got a very rich history of not only African-American property ownership and business ownership, but entrepreneurialism and, of course, jazz music, which is one of the foundations that made this place and is making this place a hopping destination for the city of Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. So you are a leader in 5 Points. You're the executive director of the Business Improvement District here. Talk to us about that work that you're doing with the Business Improvement District, what you hope to achieve through that work.
Well, honestly, it really doesn't feel like work. I do believe that my purpose right now is advancing this corridor and leading this community to new heights. And if you love what you do, it's just not work. It's just a part of your purpose and why I wake up in the morning. And so building connections with not only, the other business owners here, but residents and property owners, it's really a dream come true to come down and really be able to put my mark on this community and be able to advance it and move it forward.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing in that work, and what do you wish people knew about 5 Points and about this district?
Well, I think the challenge to leading a community is really, I believe it's getting everyone to get behind one vision and one goal. And we have a vision of creating what we're defining as a modernized cultural marketplace. And but defining that vision, getting everyone to buy in has been part of that process. But I think once folks really come down and immerse themselves in the Welton corridor and the 5 Points community, they understand that there's no place like this in the rest of the United States.
Well, one important thing that happens here is the Juneteenth Music Festival, which you're one of the lead organizers of the music festival. which I think is now one of the largest in the country. Mm-hmm. So congratulations on that. Talk to us about that work and the vision for June and the
Yeah.
history of Juneteenth.
Well, Juneteenth, obviously celebrates June 19th, 1865. That's the day that Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Or no, that's the day that slaves in Texas found out their freedom 2 years
Right.
following the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. And really, what Juneteenth means to this community is it's a cultural anchor that has really been a defining moment for all of Denver to come and celebrate freedom. It's been honored here in Five Points since I think like the early 1960s. And it had an incredible history, and it also had some ups and downs. But I was fortunate enough to start leading the celebration in 2012. So this will actually be year 15 of building Juneteenth Music Festival. And if I can say what it is, it's really a cultural treasure chest. And our city's best are on display here in Denver. There's over 200 vendors. There's nearly 20,000 people that come on a daily basis to really celebrate what I think is the best of African American culture. And again, we use music as really that foundational piece that brings our community together. And so I just encourage folks to come and celebrate Juneteenth with us here in Denver. We really feel like we've been an inspiration to other Juneteenth celebrations across this country. And I'm just so excited that not only is Juneteenth celebrated here in Denver, but I believe even in Fort Collins, there's an incredible celebration. And, it being a national holiday, I think is really a reflection of not only our work here in Denver, but quite a few other communities that had really made it a priority to make sure that the holiday is celebrated.
Wow. So proud of you as a Ram leading this work and really not leading, just 5 Points in Denver, but across the country in this amazing work and really bringing all this attention to the great music scene we have in Denver and the jazz scene in Denver. And you're a big part of that. Talk just a little bit about the jazz scene in Denver and what's happening here at Spangalang and in the city.
Well, I think what we have right now is really the opportunity to reintroduce jazz, not only to some of our elders in the community, but there's a whole new generation of folks who are coming of age that we are introducing jazz music to. And to kind of be at the tip of the spear where Spangalang, you can come in here at any point and you'll find someone that's maybe 21 and you might find someone that's in their 70s or 80s. And that I keep calling it a melting pot where the common vibration is that of jazz music is really incredibly exciting. To be at the forefront of leading a new wave of inspiration for people to understand jazz music, why it's really a art form of improvisation that people can enjoy is truly a dream come true.
Have you loved jazz your whole life?
I have. It's been played in my household. I would, be riding to school with my grandmother, driving me to school, and she'd have on, the jazz music stations or playing jazz records in our home. And then, we also had musicians in our family. I played saxophone at one point, and our family would get together and kind of just do little jams. And so it's definitely in my blood in terms of, just understanding how critical having music really it makes life a little bit better.
Yeah. We talk about in your blood, being a CSU Ram's also in your blood, right? Your mother was a Ram, graduated from CSU, you're second generation.
Yeah, and hopefully, I'm little Emery. We got to come up and enjoy a football game. She, it's funny. I brought my daughter up, and just wanted to say thank you to the CSU community. Allison Hughes, I believe, is in the alumni department. Really was proactive with reaching out to me at a point where and really extended this olive branch to say, come get back involved with the school. And so, what that meant was, I believe I came up and I toured the School of Fermentation and went
Mhm.
to, I believe I met you at
Mhm.
an alumni event,
Yeah.
and really got to understand that there is a process in which me as an alumni can actually start giving back. And
Mhm.
so having the opportunity to not only go up to CSU with my mother, who graduated in the mid 1970s, but to bring my daughter, who hopefully would be a future graduate
Hopefully.
as well. We'll
Yeah.
be 3 generations of Rams, and so that connection, that opportunity is just priceless. And so I'm just so thankful for the experiences that I've been able to the experiences that I've had at CSU, because it's really helped form some of the things that I'm doing today.
It's awesome. Let's talk about your beer for a minute. We've got some of your cans here, and how you worked with the CSU Fermentation Science program.
Yeah. So again, I there was a point where we came up to the School of Fermentation and met Dr. John Wilson, who I
Mhm.
believe is one of the heavy hitters in the School of Fermentation, and just created a relationship. I remember it like it was yesterday. My brewer and I, we drove up together and didn't know what to expect. And the next thing I know, I was getting an email from the School of Fermentation saying, let's collaborate on a beer for a beer fest. And so the actual process was Dr. Wilson asked us for a playlist. He actually came down here and he saw a jazz band, and he kind of came to understand how important music was to our culture here in Spangalang. So I sent him a playlist that he shared with students. The students actually developed a beer recipe,
Wow.
which was a mole inspired imperial stout.
Wow.
So kind of like a Mexican imperial stout, if that resonates with anyone. It was just a great process. And the fact that we got to introduce some students in the School of Fermentation with Spangalang, and they took a little slightly different approach to developing a really unique recipe. Was great. And then we were at Collab Fest serving it together with
How did it do?
Dr. Oh, it was we tapped the keg was tapped. So looking forward to more collaborations for sure.
What was the name of the beer? I think it was like Art of Darkness.
Art
or
of
something.
Darkness.
Is that-
Yeah. Wow, good job there.
so they listened to your playlist, they got the vibe and translated that into the actual recipe.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I didn't just send them jazz, because we have there was jazz, there was hip hop, there was rock, there was pop, there was like here are the top 5 songs in these different categories of music that I think define what being in Spangalang means. But Dr. Wilson actually kind of he's a master and was able to kind of derive that or drive that out of us, and the students took it and ran with it.
What a great experience. And thank you for engaging with CSU and giving our students that experience.
For sure.
When you were a student at CSU, could you have imagined that this is what you would be doing today?
In some ways, yes, I think I could. I wouldn't say that when I was at CSU, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that I was going to make a difference. And that was I think, and that is one of the unique characteristics of the school, is that it provided this platform for opportunity for me. And I can remember, I'm probably dating myself, but there was a point when the Ram Skeller was renovated, and we actually got an opportunity to throw a party in the Ram Skeller. We were the first folks that threw some party in the Ram Skeller. And so I think again, without knowing exactly what my career path was going to be, I knew that the environment of Colorado State was providing me with opportunities to grow. Yeah. So, if you'd have asked the Norman of the mid 1990s, what are you going to be when you grow up? But that person probably been like, I don't know. But what I did know is that there was a real true foundation of solid academic and social experiences that were crafting who I was becoming.
Say mid-90s. You and I were there at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually, I never would have imagined that I'd be here interviewing you about this. You just don't know. But
well, I mean, again, but kudos to you as well, because I think from what I'm seeing, it feels like you are putting your mark and your stamp on the institution itself, and you are leading it to new heights and new foundations that the school deserves.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And the best thing about my job is to meet alums, right? And hear about your journey from CSU and the amazing things. And you're one of the alums that I just admire so much in what you're doing. And I know you did a big pivot in your career as well.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't start out going into the brewery industry.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't start out being a community organizer.
Mm-hmm.
How did you make that big pivot in your life to now what you're doing here at Spangalang and in 5 Points?
Well, I think every experience that you have is a piece of education, and so I'm so thankful for the steps that I took. My first job out of CSU, I literally got the interview at a job fair at CSU.
Hmm.
Walked in with my resume and literally got a call. I hadn't even taken my last final, but it was with the name of the company is called Janus. That I literally worked. When I walked into Janus, they told me this was going to be your first and last job. But stepping into that place, which I'm so thankful for, I learned so many things, from marketing to customer service to learning, investments, because I'm an English major.
Yeah.
And I do think I do fairly well at communicating, as long as I'm able to get to an email, but I get quite a few now. But really that it served as this foundational experience of, me kind of getting like my own kind of MBA, if you will, of just learning all these different skills. And there was just there was one point where I decided that my love for my community really kind of trumped my love for just wanting to excel within the structure that Janus provided. But I'm so thankful for the opportunity that they provided me, and I still stay in contact with some of the folks that I worked with over there.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you made the pivot. I think everybody here in the community is so glad for the work that you're doing here now. And at CSU, obviously our number one priority is our students.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that our students can learn from you in your journey as an entrepreneur, as a community leader. When you think back to your time at CSU, what is some advice that you would want to give to today's CSU students who are just starting out on their journey?
Yeah, if I could even tell my prior self or my younger self, I think it's, try to find your passion as quickly as possible. Life is too short to do things that you don't love. First and foremost. Two, the steps, there's, staying focused. And what that means to me is that I think when you're young, developing good skills and habits are critically important. You could be sitting in a class kind of wondering why you're there, but you are there for a reason. And there's probably the things that you can derive from, be it a professor or maybe another friend, those are just priceless lessons that you should be drawing from your opportunity of being in an educational institution like Colorado State. So number one, just love and passion. Number two, skills and habits. And number three, just, definitely staying focused.
Amazing. That's great advice. So as we're wrapping up, where can people learn more about Spangalang and what's coming up? What acts are coming up? And do you have a favorite beer you want to recommend to people that you make?
For sure. So it's Spangalang. It's kind of caught me off guard there. So our website is spangalangbrewery.com. I would encourage folks to, if you can, at least follow us on social medias. We're on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. We have live music at least 2 or 3 times a week. We just encourage you to come here, not only to Spangalang, but to visit 5 Points. I not only is Spangalang a melting pot, but I believe 5 Points is a melting pot as well, where our doors are open to everyone. As far as my favorite beer, I'd probably say of the ones that I have here, it's the Nickel, which is this can here. It's a lager, so I don't want to offend any of our, like, if there are any beer folks kind of listening, they're like, well, of course you would say a lager. It's like, it's light drinking, kind of sessionable. It kind of goes with everything. But we have like 12 beers on tap here. So everything from a lager to hazy IPAs to even one of our unique beers that we brew, our unique creations, is a Kool-Aid flavored seltzer.
What?
Yes. So if there's anything that we do here, we're unapologetic in making sure that our culture is expressed in the products that we create.
Amazing.
So following Juneteenth, we had all this Kool-Aid left over. Our master brewer, Darren, was in the back. He's like a mad scientist. And we had just started making seltzers, and he put Kool-Aid in a seltzer. And it is by far one of our biggest sellers.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, if you follow us on social media, it's Spangalang Brewery or spangalangbrewery.com. You can learn about us, as well as the 5 Points Bid. .com. You can find out more information about 5 Points, and JuneteenthMusicFestival.com. That's a lot to say.
JuneteenthMusicFestival.com.
Yeah.
And last question, the art in here is amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me just a little bit about what we're looking at around VC.
What I was trying to mention is that, there's this Spangalang is this intersection where craft beer, art, and music all sort of meet. And so what we've done is we've worked with quite a few local artists who have created, one-of-a-kind pieces here. Probably one of my most beloved artists, his name is Randy McNulty. He's done this kind of caricature of 5 Points here.
Yeah.
And so it's all over our walls. I've been working with Randy since, I believe, 2015, and we've actually been commissioning him to do artwork of the neighborhood. And really what he's been doing is, as the neighborhood has changed, he's been, actually creating little actual, character representations of the neighborhood. So we took that and threw it on a can, and it also lives on our walls. But, I think just in general, we think that when you come to Spangalang, you're going to immerse yourself not only in music and in art, and good food and good beer, and that's all just a part of the experience.
Amazing. Well, Norman, thanks for letting us in
Thank
today
you so
and
much
having
for
this
having me.
conversation. And thanks for being a great role model to other Rams, and we just appreciate you so much.
Well, I'm so thankful. Again, proud of the work that you're doing. Proud of, I'm proud to be a CSU Ram. I can genuinely say that.
It's a good place to end.
Yeah.
Thanks, Norman. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you at Spangalang Brewery and 5 Points. Take care. Go Rams. Thank you for listening. I'm Amy Parsons, president of Colorado State University, and you're listening to CSU's The Next 150, where we explore what comes next for CSU by chatting with change makers who are already leading the charge and shaping our next 150 years. I'm gathering their very best advice for today's CSU students. Stay tuned to wherever you get podcasts for our next outstanding conversation. Go Rams!